Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the virtual public meeting for the Logandale Trails project. As part of the planning process, the project will include a resource management plan amendment, an environmental assessment, a recreation area management plan, and a travel management plan. My name is Teresa Ansell, and I work for EMPSI, and I serve as the Assistant Project Manager and Resource Specialist for the project. We are a national environmental consulting firm here with the BLM today to help facilitate the meeting and run the Zoom application. With me today on the call are my coworkers from EMPSI, Peter Gower, our project manager, and Ali Yamaniski and Noelle Crowley, our virtual public meeting specialists. I will be assisting the BLM today with facilitation of the meeting and during the question and answer and comment sessions. We are going to go over the meeting agenda and ground rules very briefly before beginning today's presentation. After we go over the agenda and some ground rules, we'll introduce the BLM specialists we have with us on the webinar today. I would like to take a moment and just remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded. Also, to enable the use of closed captions, you can click the live transcript button icon on your Zoom toolbar, and then you're going to select show subtitles. If you have a different version of Zoom that maybe isn't functioning and it's not showing you a closed caption button or a live transcript button, there may be a more button that has 3 dots. And in that, you should be able to select enable live transcripts. Thank you. I'd also like to just briefly mention that to support this public meeting, we have created a virtual public meeting website, and you can access this website at www.virtualpublicmeeting.com/Logandale-Trails-EA. And my coworker Noelle has put this into our chat box. So you can open the chat box and you can see that link, and you can go ahead and highlight it and save it for after the meeting. We'll go to our next slide. Okay, so during today's meeting, we're going to go over some meeting details, meet the BLM specialists, and then go into the presentation. The presentation will review the planning area and details regarding the plans and environmental report that will be prepared. Once we have learned more about the planning effort, I will provide a quick tutorial of our virtual public meeting website, and then we will move on to the question and answer session, followed by a public comment session. So we'll just go over quickly some meeting ground rules. Okay, I just want to let everyone know that your microphones will remain on mute until the public comment session. Okay, if you do have an urgent question or need technical assistance, you can enter a message into the chat box. You'll notice on your screen there's going to be a chat box and there's going to be a Q&A box. The chat box we'll use just to get technical requests to myself or my coworkers. They can help you that way. And the Q&A box, that's what we're going to use for our question and answer session. If you're having trouble and you can't access the chat box, you're welcome to go ahead and email one of our technicians, and I'll read off her email address. Okay, so it's Noelle, N-O-E-L-L-E .Crowley, C-R-O-W-L-E at empsi.com. So remember, if you're not seeing your Zoom toolbar throughout the meeting and you want to ask want to enter a chat, or once we get to the question and answer session, you can toggle your mouse around. If you're on a phone or a tablet, sometimes you have to kind of push on the screen and it'll pull that Zoom toolbar back up for you. Again, we're going to go ahead and provide some more detailed instruction as we get to our Q&A, question and answer, and then again for our comment session. We do ask that during our comment session, while you're providing your comment, that you avoid inappropriate language. We're all here as professionals, and we want to make sure that if anyone has a child or anything in the room, that we're using appropriate language. So I'd now like to go ahead and introduce Stephen Leslie. He's the Las Vegas Field Office Assistant Field Manager for the BLM. And I'm going to turn it over to Stephen, and he's going to introduce himself and the project manager and the project team. Stephen?
Thank you, Teresa. And first of all, I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting tonight. Thank you for participating. As Teresa said, my name is Steve Leslie, and I'm the Assistant Field Manager for the Las Vegas Field Office. Today, we are presenting on one of our projects. We're in the process of amending our resource management plan and developing a recreation area management plan and travel management plan for Logandale Trails. The purpose of today's meeting is to provide you information on what the project is about and to answer questions about the proposed plans. We also want to provide you an opportunity to provide oral and written comments so that we have the information as we move forward, creating the alternatives for our environmental document, as well as develop our plan. On the bottom of the slide, there is a link for more information regarding the project. The Logandale Trails planning area is managed by the BLM Southern Nevada District's Las Vegas Field Office. The planning area is situated in a confluence of 3 unique geographic zones: the Colorado Plateau, the Mojave Desert, and the Great Basin. The Logandale Trails planning area is approximately 15,000 acres of BLM managed public lands. The Logandale Trails area provides numerous recreation opportunities, including off-highway vehicle use, equestrian use, picnicking, hiking, mountain biking, camping, commercial tour businesses, and sightseeing. The area is rich in natural resources, such as habitat to the threatened desert tortoise, as well as special status plant and wildlife species. It also contains sensitive archaeological resources and unique land features, such as sand dunes. I'd like to introduce you to Kenny Kendrick, the BLM's project lead. He is also working with a number of other BLM resource specialists that will be answering your questions later on in this meeting. Before I introduce Kenny, I'd like to introduce the members of BLM's team. So on the call with us today, we have Shauna Duman, who is our Las Vegas Field Office Manager, Colleen Cepero Rios, who is our Planning and Environmental Coordinator, Katrina Aben, our Tribal Liaison, Connie Jacobs, who is our Acting Recreation and National Landscape Conservation System Program Lead in our Nevada State Office, Janine Pringle, who is a Natural Resource Specialist for Wildlife, Loris Poff, who is our Hydrologist, Lori D. Dukes, who is our Geologist, Jennifer Dirk, who is our Archaeologist, David Pritchett, who is our Planning and Nepa Program Lead in our Nevada State Office, Laura Cobell, who is our Botanist, Shannon Benavides, who is our Realty Specialist, and Kirsten Cannon, who is our Public Affairs Specialist. With that, I'll now turn it over to Kenny. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And good evening. My name is Kenny Kendrick, and as Steve mentioned, I am the project lead and will be going over the project. The Logandale Trails planning area is located approximately 60 miles northeast of Las Vegas, Nevada. It borders the Valley of Fire State Park to the west and a majority of the northern and southern boundaries. Then the eastern boundary is adjacent to the Bureau of Reclamation Managed Lands, private lands of Moapa Valley, and the community of Logandale and Overton. An interactive searchable map is available at Station 5 of the virtual public meeting website, which we'll go over following this presentation. An overview of the project. Due to an increase of local population and recreation-based activities has amplified the need for improved recreation management at the Logandale Trails. In order to improve recreation management, the BLM is proposing to amend their current Resource Management Plan, RMP, develop a recreation area management plan, a RAMP, and a travel management plan, a TMP. The BLM will fulfill the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, requirements through development of environmental assessment, NEA. The plan will provide site-specific managements that will enhance trail-based motorized and non-motorized recreation activities within the Logandale Trails system and reduce conflicts between recreation users and other resources such as biological and cultural resources. Over the next few slides, I will be going over the plans that will be included in this project. Starting off with the RMP amendment. Logandale Trails is identified in the current Las Vegas RMP as an extensive recreation management area, an IRMA, which is an administrative unit where recreation is generally unstructured and dispersed. It recognizes existing recreation activities and associated qualities, but not as a primary focus. The BLM is proposing to amend their current RMP to designate the Logandale Trails area as a special recreation management area, a SERMA, which is an administrative unit that the BLM manages with recreation as its primary focus. The BLM would manage the SERMA for the existing or proposed recreation opportunities, especially as compared with other areas. An RMP amendment is required for this designation. In addition to designating Logandale Trails as a SERMA, the BLM is proposing to develop a RAMP. This plan will serve as a guiding document for managing recreation use in the area, including but not limited to off-highway vehicle use, camping, hiking, target shooting, and special recreation permits for commercial and special events. This plan will include the TMP. The goals of the RAMP is to provide the BLM with site-specific goals, objectives, and strategies for managing the area to achieve desired recreation settings, experience, and outcomes while avoiding conflicts between recreation with other users. The RAMP will provide the BLM with more specific management directive for the SERMA. The TMP. The TMP will identify existing routes and trails in the Logandale Trails area and determine the appropriate management for these routes. Possible designations for these routes could include open to the public, routes for administrative use only, and routes to be closed and rehabilitated. The TMP will also identify what types of travels will be allowed on each route. The TMP may designate new routes to help meet the goals and objectives of the RAMP and RMP. The BLM will comply with NEPA through the development of an EA. This will evaluate the environmental and related social and economic effects of the proposed Logandale Trails project. Now I'm going to turn it over to Peter to talk more about the Nepa process and the key considerations for the planning efforts.
Peter, I'm so sorry, Peter, you're on mute, buddy. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thought I hit the button there. So NEPA requires federal agencies to assess the environmental effects of their proposed actions prior to making any decisions. The BLM will use the EA, or the environmental assessment, to evaluate the environmental and related social and economic effects of the proposed Logandale Trails project. To balance high quality visitor experience with natural resource protection in what we know the region is one of the region's most popular recreation areas, the BLM is engaging the public in the development of this RAMP, EA, and TMP. So the initial opportunity for the public to comment is now during the scoping period. The BLM will use scoping to identify and work with various stakeholders, including state, county, local, tribal governments, homeowners in the area, recreation users, and the public. So the scoping process helps the BLM in the early identification of potentially affected resources, issues, and potential alternatives to be considered in the EA. So the figure on your screen here gives an overview of the timeline and the Nepa process, where we're at now and where the process is headed. There will be several opportunities for the public to engage, the first being right now, when the BLM is conducting its 45-day public scoping period. This began back on October 22nd and will continue through December 6th. So during this time, stakeholders and members of the public are encouraged to provide their comments that will be considered in developing the proposed plan. So an additional opportunity for the public to engage will be during the release of the draft EA, RAMP, and RMP amendment and TMP. So some key considerations for the process, some initial questions that the public might have or the BLM might have are, what types of recreation uses and travel should be allowed in the SRMA? So for example, the BLM could identify through the travel management planning process areas that are open or closed to cross-country motorized travel, or where motorized travel is limited to existing or designated routes. The BLM could also designate individual routes and route segments for specific forms of travel, including closing routes to motorized travel. The SRMA could identify areas that are open or closed to certain recreation uses, for example, target shooting or camping. Another consideration is how will the proposed ramp and SRMA affect the area's natural resources. BLM's conducting the travel management process, and as part of that process will evaluate the potential changes to natural resources from its travel management decisions. So the EA holistically evaluates the environmental impacts of the proposed ramp, TMP, and RMP amendment. Some additional considerations, how would the SRMA designation affect other resource uses? Some examples, the BLM intends to analyze alternatives for the management of rights-of-way, mineral development, and other uses. The BLM could decide to manage all or portions of the area as an avoidance or right-of-way exclusion area for certain types of rights-of-way. The BLM could decide to manage all or portions of the area as open with restrictions, or closed to leasable minerals. It could also decide to manage all or portions of the area as open or closed to saleable mineral development. Another question that might come up, how many alternatives will the BLM analyze in the EA? At this point, the BLM is leaning towards 3 action alternatives and a no action alternative. The alternatives would consider a range of possible recreation management actions and travel management decisions. The public is encouraged and can find out lots more information on the Logandale Trails website, particularly looking at the preliminary questions considered on Station 6, which Teresa is going to run through here in just a moment. So with that, I'll turn it over to Teresa to walk us through the virtual public meeting website. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then I will give a quick tutorial about our public meeting website. Okay, so you'll notice that we have this public meeting website included at the bottom of most of the screens, of most of the slides, and we've also placed it into the chat now. We'll go ahead and place it again, just so that everyone has the ability to see it. Sometimes when folks join later in the meeting, they can't see the chats that were placed there earlier. So Noelle will go ahead and place this website back into the chat. It's virtualpublicmeeting.com/Logandale-Trails-EA. Okay, so when you enter this into your browser, it's going to pull up this homepage. And this homepage tells us a lot about the public meeting. So we sent this out in our news release. Hopefully everyone was able to get and navigate to it. We have individual links. This link here would take you to registration for tonight's meeting. You can also see that anywhere there's a red text with a line, underline, that's going to be a link. And so anything like that, we encourage you to click on. This link right here is going to take you to the BLM's e-planning site. And so that's the BLM's internal website that will have a lot of the information. And once the document is published, we'll be there as well. So the public comment scoping period is going to be open. It was opened on October 22nd, and it's going to end on December 6th, 2021. Throughout the website, you're going to see options for how you can provide comments. You can mail them in if that works best for you. You can call and you can leave a verbal comment with someone on the phone. We do have a project email, and Noelle can put this email in the chat as well. It's BLM_NV_LVO_LOGANDALE_RAMP@blm.gov. You can also provide a comment right here on our station, on Station 8. This will take you to a form and you can fill it out. We do have some downloads. So once this virtual public meeting is over, we'll upload the recording. We'll also upload the presentation in a PDF format, and we'll have a transcript that will go along with that so that you can utilize the closed captions. Station 5 is incredible. It does have an interactive map where you can zoom in and out, and you can see the planning area of the Logandale Trails and some of the stuff that is on there. So we'll go to that one later. This is where you can choose to go to stations. So on the home page, you're going to have the option to choose where you can go. We do have another option that kind of walks you through, as we'll see here, just down farther. So you can sign in. This is a really great opportunity. Signing in is optional. However, if you do choose to sign in, we will include you on a mailing list. So a future mailing list for the project, any newsletters that go out, updates indicating that the draft is available, things like that. And so this is how you can go to your next station. You can choose the stations like I was showing you up here, or you can just choose next station and it walks you through that type of plan. So the way we designed this was really to facilitate and support this public meeting here as well. So we encourage you to go onto this after the meeting. A lot of the information is what you heard in the presentation. And it's just a really nice way to supplement the virtual life that we're all living. So we really tried to make this replicate some of the stations you would anticipate at a public meeting. So if you've ever been to a public meeting, you walk in, there are specialists with information and big posters showing the information. So that's kind of where we're going with this, so that we can provide you a lot more information, since this is a virtual setting and it is more difficult. Okay, so it talks about the background, then it goes into the planning process. So this further describes kind of what we're doing with all these plans and how they interrelate. So there's going to be 4 different things happening, and they all are tied together in that way. And we do have a static overview map of the planning area. You can see the planning boundary, and then you can see the routes within here. Okay, there's a legend that shows what's a Clark County road, what's BLM, what's Bureau of Rec, state land, and then we do have private in white. Okay, here we have the options again to jump to stations, or you can click next station. The next station talks about NEPA, goes a little bit deeper, shows where we're at in the NEPA process, where we're going. And then anything with a star is going to be the opportunity for the public to comment again. And these dates are just tentative, and depending on what happens, they may be subject to change. We go into more opportunities for public involvement. This is a 45-day scoping period that will end on December 6th. The next station is a resource management plan amendment. Talks about amending the existing resource management plan, has a map that's proposed to be a special recreation management area there for the planning boundary. I'm going to go ahead and skip to providing scoping comments, but you can see this is how you can walk through this website and how it's going to provide you the information in a very straightforward way. So on Station 8 is where we have more information about where to comment, and then the form that you can actually use to fill in the comment portion. This will go directly to our system, and we will log it here and respond to it through public scoping. Okay, I did want to mention on Station 5, it's travel management planning. This is where the interactive map is. Okay, so if you get to this page here, Station 5, the travel management planning, you'll scroll down and you'll see this interactive map. Okay, so there's notes on how to use it. Okay, if you do have any shape files, KML or KMZ files, you can actually email those. So if you get in here to this map and you're seeing that there's a trail that you know of that is not shown on here and you want to send that, that's what we're asking for with this information here. It's just that you provide us with that. Okay, so this little arrow, these double arrows on the left-hand side, that's going to open Legend. That way you can see what is going on the map. Okay, you can zoom in and out, and then this takes you to the home display. You can also enter an address over here in the search. So say you want to figure out where your home or farm or a particular city is, you can enter that address right here and then hit the search or hit the little magnifying glass, and that will take you and show the location of where you are in proximity to where this planning area is going to be. Okay, so with that, we'll go on and have Ali share the presentation again. And we'll get moving into our question and answer session. Great, thank you so much, Ali. Okay, so now we are going to begin our question and answer session. As we start the session, I would like to remind everyone that we will be using the Q&A feature. So this feature, it's a little button, little icon located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You may have to toggle your mouse to get the bar to pop up, but you can type your question in the Q&A box, and a specialist from BLM will either answer your question live or type the answer back, and that answer will come to the entire audience. I don't see that we have any phone callers tonight, so we're going to skip introducing how a phone caller could participate in the question and answer. We want to remind everyone that we will do our very best to answer all the questions received. However, if we receive too many questions and we cannot get through them by the end of the meeting, we'll continue to answer them during the comment session and everything. But if we can't get through to them, please know that we will capture all of them. It actually produces a report that easily captures, and then we will answer those questions And then we will post the questions up onto the website again, where we were showing you with the meeting materials. So if your question didn't get answered, we do apologize, but please know that we're doing our best and we will get that answered as quickly as we can and post it up to the site. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start. We're going to have Kenny answer some questions live, and then we're going to have the rest of the ID team in the background, and they're going to be answering additional questions via text. So Kenny, if you're ready, you can go ahead and come on camera. Looks like we do have one question, and we may want to pass this over to Steve. Steve, my apologies. Yeah. We'll have you take this first question. I'm going to go ahead. Thanks. I'm going to go ahead and read the question so that we can track it for our transcript. Steve, this question comes from Judith Metz. Judith asks, will utilities with right-of-way in this area be included in this process? OPD 5 has roads and lines in the area that serve the local community.
Okay, thanks, Teresa, and thanks, Judith, for that question. And thanks for your patience. I know that came in pretty early in the presentation. So it will factor in. Overton Power District rights-of-ways through this area will be considered as part of the travel management planning process. We want to make sure that those things that are currently authorized are incorporated into that plan. So even though it's a recreation area management plan, it will factor in all of the existing rights-of-way through that area. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for answering that question, Steve. It's a great question. Okay, I do want to remind everyone to please use the question and answer icon and not the chat button for this. I do see a couple questions already in the chat box. That is, I can see them, but we want to make sure they capture in the question and answer bucket. That way we can process them. So Mary Kay and Marcus, if you wouldn't mind just utilizing the Q&A. The chat button will just use if you're having any technical difficulties. If you're having technical difficulties and you can't see the Q&A button for some reason, please let me know via the chat button, and I'll have Noel reach out to you and help you with any technical difficulties. Okay, it looks like we have a very long question. So I'm just going to wait one moment while we're coordinating a question that either Steve or Kenny would like to answer live. Okay, Kenny, it looks like you want to ask, you have identified a question. So Kenny, if you want to come on camera. Thanks, Kenny. So this question comes from Garen Fulmer. The question is there any plans to create a Southern Overton bathroom and camping site?
So the BLM is currently gathering input about the Logandale Trails area, and we anticipate dispersed camping will be allowed. If there are any certain spots, that would be a great place to put it in the comments on the locations and stuff you would like to see in that area.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks everyone for your patience. We have some big questions here, so we're just making sure that we can get the appropriate person to answer your questions. So I do want to remind you to please use the Q&A box. Any and all questions will be accepted. We will continue to accept questions up until the comment session. And then once the comment session begins, we'll continue to answer ones that may be unanswered yet so far. Okay, it looks like Kenny has another question he'd like to answer live. And we do want to mention that, as Kenny is answering questions live, we are continuing to get the appropriate people, specialists from the BLM to answer the written questions and also make sure we have the right people for that. So Kenny, I have a question here. Let me get to question number 7. Gary Fulmer asks, is there any plans to improve, parentheses, pave, in parentheses, the main access routes as part of the travel plans to control dust? Kenny?
So the answer to that is yes. We're currently analyzing that right now to try and get it paved all the way up to the first bathroom.
Great, thanks, Kenny. Okay, bear with us. We're just trying to get the right specialist for the right questions. Okay, Kenny, we have another one for you. Okay, Kenny, are you ready? So
Yes.
This comes from Marcus Jensen. Marcus asks, the BLM access focus seems too limited. Access to Logandale Trails can be accomplished from private lands, from the Valley of Fire State Park, and from other publicly designated roads. These other access points should be addressed. How will BLM coordinate with private parties and public entities to address these access concerns?
So currently BLM is proposing to maintain all the access points to the Logandale Trails area. If there are other areas, provide those areas in the comments and we can address those as needed.
Thank you, Kenny. It's a great question. We have a lot of really wonderful questions coming in. So thank you to everyone in the audience. These really are fantastic. We really appreciate all your questions. This is really important as we begin this process of developing these plans for this wonderful area. So we're so glad that you all are in attendance tonight and have come with such amazing questions. We're working on finding Kenny a question that he is able to answer live. A lot of the questions that we have are very technical, and so we want to make sure that we're getting the correct BLM specialist to answer those. So even though we're not answering some of them live, please know that we do have the appropriate specialists that are on the line with us, and they are going to be answering those through the texting back the answers to the entire audience. Okay, we have another one that we've identified for Kenny. So when Kenny's ready, Mary Kay asks, Mary Kay Washburn asks, I am curious, what has brought on the need to change from the current management plan? Is there documented damage to the area?
So currently with the increase of recreation activities that is happening over the years, we just feel that it's at that time to go ahead and move forward for the plan designation to a SERMA, so that way we can focus it on recreation based out in that area.
Thanks, Kenny. It's a great question. We do encourage everyone to continue to submit your questions. We do have 20 more minutes left in the question and answer session before we go along to the public comment. Okay, looks like we have a couple more for Kenny. Just waiting for a little more guidance. Just one moment. I'm going to make sure I'm asking the right question here. So just one moment. Okay, the team has identified a question that they would like Stephen to take on. Stephen, if you're available.
I sure am. Thanks, Teresa.
Thanks, Stephen. So we have a question, Stephen, and the question comes from an anonymous attendee. It says, please clarify the term proposed project. Is the project, quotes, just the proposed change to a special recreation management area? If the no action option is selected, would there be no environmental assessment and no change in this management status?
So thank you for that question. That's a good clarification to make. In essence, the proposed project would be the change in designation from an extensive recreation management area to the special recreation management area. If the BLM moved forward with a no action option, it would remain as an extensive recreation management area, and we would not move forward with preparing the subsequent plans. And so, yes, the management status would remain the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for that great question. Okay, we will see what other questions we have. Okay, we are identifying some more questions that we can answer live. Thank you all for all of your patience and for attending tonight. We will continue to answer questions for about another 16 minutes. We do have another question that Stephen would like to take. Stephen, if you want to come onto camera.
Thank you.
No, you're fine. Thank you, Stephen. I have another question from Marcus Jensen. Marcus asks, if the trails or roads designated in the Logandale Trails Travel Management Plan facilitate trespass onto private properties, what will BLM do to mitigate or prevent such trespasses?
That's a great question, and a reasonable question. Of course, we would want to work with the private landowner to come up with solutions that meet their needs as well as BLM needs for managing the area. And so as part of the plan, certainly we would look for input through this comment process for ideas on how to mitigate that problem.
Thank you, Stephen. It's a great question. Looks like we have.
Yeah, hey, Teresa, I think looking, it looks like Marcus had another question that I'm happy to take live as well. And just I can click this. So he had asked, how can the public review comments submitted under this process? And, we will be preparing a comprehensive scoping report at the conclusion of scoping. And that report will be shared through the website and made available to interested parties. So thank you for that.
Great. It looks like we have another one, Stephen, that Colleen has identified. This question comes from Gary Fulmar. And it's question number 6. So they submitted a line of questions. And it says, is there any plans for a dedicated law enforcement ranger to be assigned to the area?
I can say at this point, we don't have plans for dedicated rangers specific to the Logandale planning area. Certainly that would be some input that we would look for during the scoping process. And we'd appreciate any thoughts that the public had on that. Thank you for that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Stephen. We're going to go ahead and get Kenny back online. Kenny is going to answer a question from Nikhil. Nikhil asks, thank you for hosting. How will this management decision address adding new purpose-built trails for OHV recreation? Can new trails be added after travel management planning is complete, or would that take another EA or EIS?
So currently at this time, we'll go back to, we are gathering the information during this period and to develop new routes and trails. It is a possibility. If you guys know of any new routes or trails that are not in the inventory, we would like you to submit those routes so they can be processed. And if after the travel management plan, it is a implementation level guide, so we would have to do additional analysis to create new trails after the travel management plan is done.
Thank you, Kenny. And thanks for that question. These are such great questions tonight. We do encourage you to continue to submit your questions. They're very helpful. Even though they're not comments, they're very helpful for the team to go ahead and really formulate a better plan. So thank you so much for your questions. We're going to work on identifying a couple more that we can answer live. So we'll be just a moment with that. We do still have 12 minutes available for questions. So we do encourage any and all questions, and we will get to them as quickly as we can. We'll continue to answer them throughout the remainder of the meeting, even as we go on to the comment session. Thanks everyone for your patience. We have identified a question that we would like Stephen to take.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Stephen. Stephen, we have a question. Make sure I'm on the right one. Stephen, Mary Kay Washburn asks, are you going to go over BLM's proposed changes at this meeting? Also, still waiting on an answer regarding proposed energy and transmission projects.
Okay, thank you for that question. And so the purpose of this meeting is to present the just the information related to the proposed resource management plan amendment and recreation area management plan and travel management plan. The BLM has not developed any proposed changes or made any decisions at that point. We're still in the process of gathering information from the public and from other interested parties. With regard to the proposed energy and transmission projects that were referenced, there are no specific proposed energy and transmission projects within the Logandale Trails planning area. It was identified as a potential issue, and by emphasizing the importance of recreation in this area, we're sort of looking at making potential allocations to emphasize motorized recreation, other recreation opportunities over energy and transmission projects specific to the Logandale Trails area. So thank you for that question. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Stephen. We have one more for you, Stephen. Let me see who asks the question. Okay, Stephen, we have a question from Lori Houston. Lori asks, with the VOF State Park already limited to hiking and equestrian use, why would that be on the agenda for Logandale Trails?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. You know, Logandale being directly adjacent to the Valley Fire State Park is factoring into the planning for the area. Even though Valley Fire is available, you know, only for hiking and equestrian use, we don't want to limit those opportunities on Logandale Trails. Now, that being said, the BLM recognizes after conducting surveys and just monitoring out there that motorized recreation is the primary use, and we'd be looking for any public input on that to support this planning process. So again, thank you for that comment, question.
Thanks, Stephen. We do have 8 more minutes left in the question and answer session. So we'll continue to take your questions. We are going to work on finding a couple more questions that Kenny or Stephen can answer live. So thanks again for your patience. And we will be right back with some more questions. I do see, Tina, that you have your hand raised, and right now we're not opening the microphones. We are trying to formulate an answer to your question. So thank you so much, and thanks for your patience. We are going to continue looking for questions that we can answer live. And then we will be transitioning over to the comment session here in just a few minutes. Kevin, I do see that your hand is up as well. I apologize. At this time, we're accepting written comments in the Q&A feature. If you're having a technical issue, we can go ahead and put that in the chat box. Okay, we do have a question that came in that Kenny is going to help us answer. And Kenny, this question, let me see who this comes from. Okay, this question comes from Tony Bowers. Tony asks, are there currently any plans to close any current public motorized access?
So thank you for that question. At this time, there is no proposal to close down any motorized public access.
Thank you, Kenny, and thanks for your question. We've got about 4 more minutes left in the question and answer session. And I want to remind you that you can still continue to ask your questions for the next few minutes, and then we will continue to answer them via text during the comment period. During the comment period, we will no longer answer them live, but we will continue to answer them there in the Q&A bucket. Okay, we do want to remind folks that we are receiving your questions. We apologize. We've got a lot of questions in the queue right now. And so sending them again is kind of overloading us. So we ask that if you are asking a question, please just bear with us. We are trying to get them answered as quickly as we can. And we will continue along here. So please just submit your question once, kind of helps on our end so that we're not overwhelmed with the same question. Okay, we do have another question that we would like Kenny to answer live. So let me pull that one up. Kenny, we have a question from Matthew Giltner. Matthew asks, how are the trails going to be included? How is one trail worth including in the travel management plan, TMP, and others not?
So thank you for that question. Once we get the complete inventory of all the routes out there, it's going to go through the process, and each route will be analyzed through an ID team. And some of the routes is possible that may make it on, and some are not, like redundancies or routes that lead to certain sensitive sites. Those are some possibilities why one route might make it on and another one might not.
Thanks, Kenny. Okay, we have a couple more minutes left in our question and answer session, and then we're going to transition over to our comment session. So please continue to submit your questions, and we will have our specialists answer them as quickly and effectively as we can. If we identify another question that we'd like to answer live, we'll go ahead and take one more live question, and then we'll move along to the comment session. We have one last question that we would like Kenny to answer. Kenny, Kevin Bailey asks, with over 200 miles of trails, what is the plan for the rock trails? Are there any areas being looked at being closed?
So we do realize that Logandale Trails does have a lot of rock crawling opportunities out there, and we are analyzing that at this time. There has been no decisions made at this time if an area is going to be closed or not. One of the things that would be helpful for us is for you guys to submit the comments of the trails that you guys use, maybe a polygon of the areas that you guys use, because we do realize that rock crawling is kind of hard to stick to one trail. So after we receive all those public comments, then we will analyze them accordingly.
Thank you, Kenny. That was perfect. So now we'll go ahead into our public comment session. Ellie, if you don't mind changing this slide to the next slide. Okay, and I do want to remind everyone that we are still going to address your comments. All the comments that are received will be collected by all the questions that are being received will be answered by the BLM this evening up until the end of the meeting. And then if we still haven't gotten to all the questions that have been asked, we will follow up and provide answers to those questions, and we'll post that onto the website and let everyone know. Okay, so I want to go over how we could really make our comment count. So the BLM Las Vegas field office is in the initial stages of identifying the issues for the Logandale Trails Recreation Area Management Plan and Environmental Assessment. The comments during the scoping period will be used to prepare these documents. So all the documents that we've been talking about, your comments will inform them, and we can really pull from them on what the plans need to say and need to do. So the BLM is very, very interested in your comments. So the following would be the most useful. Any additional information, data, or analysis which should be considered. So if there are any routes that you have GPS tracks for, KMLs, shape files, things like that, you can email them to the BLM, and they will include that in the analysis to be considered. If you've identified a different way to meet the project need, you can let us know that. You could suggest an alternative. You could suggest alternative methodologies for analysis and the reasons why they should be used. You could make factual corrections or identify sources of credible research or data. You could also, are there any additional uses, concerns, or opportunities not already identified that the BLM should consider to provide any of those issues or concerns to us? And then additional alternatives not already identified that the BLM should consider. Go to the next slide. So comments that are less useful, they're considered really non-substantive, and those would be votes. So in favor or against the proposed project, those really don't help us make decisions. Whether you would just agree or disagree with agency policy without justification or supporting data. Comments that don't pertain to the project area or the proposed project. And any comments that would be vague or open-ended. Please note that the petitions and form letters, they're only counted as one comment. If specific routes of interest are not identified on the interactive map that was on the website that we went over, you can email that spatial data, like I was saying earlier, if it's GPS tracks, Google Earth files, Esri-based shape files, things like that. You can email those to the BLM. And we'll go ahead and put that BLM email address for the project in the chat. Okay, so we'll now go on to the formal comment session. We will be accepting verbal public scoping comments this evening. I will remind everyone that your microphone will remain closed until you have been called on to provide your comment. We'll display the list of ways to comment again following the comment session, and the virtual project website address will be displayed during the comment session. Okay, I'm going to go through the instructions for the participants who indicated they want to offer a comment. When everyone pre-registered, you had the ability to select if you'd like to go ahead and make a comment. And so at this time, you can see on our screen that we had 4 individuals that did indicate during registration that they would like to make a comment. So the input will be accepted in order that the individuals registered. We'll continue to display the next 4 commenters. Once you hear me call your name out, you're going to go ahead and use the raise hand feature. So it's another little icon on the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, and there's a little hand. You raise your hand, and that way we'll know you're available and ready for your input. So I'll call off the names of those that pre-registered, and then they'll raise their hands. Okay, so once you have your hand raised, then I will unlock your microphone on my side so that you can provide your verbal public comment. If your audio is not working, you may need to check your unmute button on your side or respond to any pop-up messages about unmuting your microphone. Once you have confirmed audio, we're going to ask you to spell out your name, your first and last name for the recording before you provide your verbal comment. And if you're representing an organization or a group, you can please say so. Again, we would like to remind everyone to be respectful of the length of your verbal comment in order to allow the others the opportunity to offer their input as well. After you have provided your input, we will close your microphone and move on to our next commenter. Every commenter will have 2 minutes to provide their verbal comment. If you do not feel that you were able to complete your verbal input today, the BLM would like to strongly encourage you to submit the remainder of your input in writing. Should there be more time after the initial round of comments, those who did not finish may be invited to finish providing their comment. We'll go through the list of registered commenters, and then we will open it up to everyone else. And we will go in order of the raised hands that are on my screen. So at this time, I would like to go ahead and welcome Marcus. Marcus already has his hand up. After Marcus, we're going to go on to Daniel Coggin, Mary Kay Washburn, and then Kevin Bailey. I understand he has his Vegas Valley Four-Wheelers group. So welcome, guys. We'll go on to them there. And then after we are done with Kevin and his group, we will open the mic, or we'll open the floor for others that maybe did not pre-register and would like to go ahead and make a public comment. So Marcus, I am going to open your microphone and you should get a prompt to unmute yourself. There you go.
Thank you, Teresa. Can you hear me all right?
We've got you perfectly. Thank you, Marcus. Begin your comment when you're ready.
All right. So you've already seen in the question and answer session my concerns referencing access from the Logandale Trails area to private properties. And I do have this problem presently. And that's why I'm expressing concern about those issues. And I would like to say that I do encourage the BLM to permit use of all existing roads and trails that are currently within the Logandale Trails area as much as possible. However, any road or trail that leads to private lands or to restricted areas should be fenced or flagged or signs in some manner to discourage trespass. Moreover, I think if trespass does occur from Logandale Trails onto private lands, as a consequence of the BLM facilitating public access under the ramp for Logandale Trails, then BLM should accept some enforcement and prosecutorial responsibilities to control trespasses. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. I'm going to go ahead and close your microphone again and lower your hand. Okay, next in line, we have Danielle Coggin. I don't see Daniel on the phone or on the call today, unless he or she may be on a different person's name. I'm going to go ahead and move along to Mary Kay Washburn. If you're on, I do see you have a couple different profiles on. If you can just raise your hand, you can use the raise hand feature. It should be located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Once you have your hand raised, I'll know that you would like me to open your microphone. There we go, Mary Kay. You should receive a prompt on your end.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. If you do have another device open, it sounds like you have some feedback. You want to mute your microphone on that device and your speaker.
Not aware of having anything else open, but
Unless it's the screen up there.
Well, we can hear you. Okay,
I really
Mary Kay, if you want to go ahead.
okay. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to have some input. I really didn't have a specific question starting out. I wanted to hear what information you were presenting in this meeting so that we would have an understanding of going forward. So I basically thank you for giving us the information, and we'd like to be kept informed as the process goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment, Mary Kay. It would be really helpful if you went onto the website and you could sign in on that front homepage. That way that enters you into our contact list. And that's a really great, easy way for us to keep in contact with you. We will note that in our notes as well and make sure that we follow up with that. Thanks, Mary Kay. We are going to go on to our next commenter. We have Kevin Bailey. Kevin, if you guys are ready for your comments, you can go ahead and raise your hand. You'll use the raise hand icon. I'm not sure if Kevin and the group are with us. Kevin, if you're with us, I see you still on the line. If you're ready to give your comment, I can. If you could raise your hand, that will indicate that you're ready. If you're not ready, we're going to go ahead and open it up to others, and then we can come back to you once you are ready. If you're having a technical problem at all, please use the chat button, and we can get you some help there. Or if you're having technical problems and cannot reach us via chat, what we can do is Noel can reach out to you. We do have your contact information. So Noel, let's try to work with Kevin. I'm going to go have Noel reach out to Kevin and see if he's still wanting to provide a comment or if he's having any technical difficulties. Okay, I do see that Lori has had her hand raised. If anyone else would like to go ahead and raise your hand, we're going to go ahead and open it up to all attendees. If we have inspired you to provide a comment, we would love your comments. All your comments are very important. They will become part of the official project record. And so it's we really look forward to all these comments. So we're going to go ahead and let Lori provide her comment. And then while she's providing her comment, if anybody wants to raise their hand, we do encourage it. Okay, Lori, I've opened your microphone. You should be able to unmute on your side. There you go.
My name is Lori Houston, Lori Houston. I'm a local business owner. I live here in Overton, Nevada. I'm part of the public and I'm very much a user of the Logandale Trail system. I think that the time period that we have, this 45-day scoping period or whatever you want to call it, we're already a month almost in before we get to make public comment. I don't think it's enough time. And I didn't see, and maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't see one local person in that list, or hear one local person or entity or group in that list of planning partners. I think that that needs to be rectified. I went to the Moapa Valley Town Advisory Board meeting. I was just there kind of on another note. I didn't even know BLM was going to be there. And even today, I'm kind of more confused as to what exactly your plan is, or if there is not a plan, if you just want to change the designation. It doesn't feel like we've had a lot of local support. I feel like this will be very much an economic impact to our valley. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and for the last at least 5 years, we've turned our thoughts and tourism and our economic future relies on the OHV and off-road travel vehicles. Since we lost our Overton Beach Marina, it's been very much a big impact to our restaurants and our stores and our businesses, and it's improved greatly because of our trail system, especially during COVID when people wanted to be more outside. So I think that our businesses and our local entities need to be more involved in the planning of this project.
Fantastic comment, Lori. Thank you so much for that comment. We do still have 45 minutes left for public comment. So if anyone has anything to add, or any important comment that they would like to provide, please use the raise hand feature. It should be located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're on a phone, a mobile phone or a tablet, you may have to kind of tap around on it and then the Zoom screen will come up. If you're on your computer, you may need to kind of toggle your mouse, and that way the Zoom screen will pop up there on the bottom. If we don't have any more commenters, we can review the website again, kind of go over some information. It looks like we do have a commenter. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Nikili, I'm going to go ahead and unmute your microphone. You should be able to now, there you go. Welcome.
Hey, good evening. Thank you, Ms. Ansel, and thank you to Southern Nevada BLM District Office for taking a proactive approach and putting some management plans in place for the Logandale Trail system. This is a highly used area for Nevada off-highway vehicle recreation, and I thank you for taking an approach that will manage the site for all types of various uses. Short comment here. I did want to echo Mr. Jensen's concerns about respecting the use of the landowners, the private landowners adjacent to Logandale Trails. We do need to take a strong look at those routes that access private property and take proactive management of those sites. And then Ms. Houston that did make a comment representing Chamber of Commerce. That's also important. Here in Nevada, we do rely heavily on off-highway vehicle recreation as a source of kind of a boost to the local economies, especially in rural areas. So while I appreciate BLM's concern and forward thinking on managing the Logandale Trails, we do need to make it a world-class recreation area. So I hope that you take this comment in a positive light and address it as creating a new Moab or Sand Hollow recreation area as a world-class OHV recreation. Finally, with my last 30 seconds, I wanted to draw attention to a funding source that can help develop these trails through user groups, and that is the Nevada Off-Highway Vehicle Grant Program. It's awarded twice per year. The next round will close in July 2022. I encourage anybody on this call to come in and help develop the Logandale Trails. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful comment. We really appreciate it. At this time, we will continue to accept comments from anyone, members of the audience. If you've already gone and would like to say a little bit more, if we don't have anyone that raises their hand that hasn't gone, we will open it up for you guys. So if you've already gone and would like to continue a little bit more please, please feel free to raise your hand. We did get confirmation from Noel that she was able to reach Kevin, and he's been able to submit those comments written. So thank you very, very much for that, Kevin. Okay, we still have 40 minutes left that we would love to accept some more comments. Your input is extremely valuable as we are just in the preliminary stages of getting this project going. You know, we are working on identifying a lot of the things that everyone is bringing up. So your comments are very much appreciated, and we really appreciate you being here tonight. If there's anyone else, we do have plenty of time for more comments. If you've gone, please go ahead, and if you want to go again, you're welcome to raise your hand and we can go again. Looks like we have Doug Mays. Doug, thank you so much for commenting. You should be able to open your microphone on your end now. You may have to press the mute button or the unmute button. Okay, Doug, we will go ahead and try a workaround. I'm not seeing that your audio is working. So what I'm going to do is do a little bit of a workaround, and so that we can see if your audio is working without some of these buttons. So bear with us just 1 second. Thank you. My apologies. I'm no longer seeing Doug on the call. Doug, if you're still on the call, can you please try raising your hand again? My apologies. For some reason, it's not finding you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get a hold of Doug on our end and see if we can help him with his audio. So I apologize for this technical glitch here. We will be right back. If anyone else would like to raise their hand and provide a comment, we still have over 30 minutes left. So feel free to raise your hand. When I see your hand raised, I will go ahead and call you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We're going to continue to work on getting Doug back on the line. In the meantime, if anyone would like to ask another question, feel free to use the Q&A box. We'll continue to answer your questions. You can continue to ask them since the comment session is a little bit slow. We'll need those questions to come in the question and answer box type. So please utilize your Q&A icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And that way we can get those typed by the appropriate specialist. Okay, we will continue to accept your public comments. We'll keep the line open for another 30 minutes. So if you would like to make another comment, you're more than welcome. If you'd like to make a comment the first time, please feel free to go ahead and raise your hand and we'll let your microphone open and then you can provide your comment. Hello, everyone. We do have a hand raised. So Ken Ravago, I'm going to unmute your microphone and you should be able to unmute it on your side now. There you go.
Hi, good evening. Ken Ravago, R-A-V as in Victor, A-G-O. I am a member of the Dunes and Trails ATV Club here, locally here in Las Vegas, and also a member of the Off-Highway Vehicle Commission. So I just wanted to share a message from our president, Doug Barnett. We are a UTV ATV club that consists of 80 families that ride locally here in the Las Vegas Valley. So he says the Logandale Trail system is one of the best systems for residents of Southern Nevada. We trust the BLM and all parties involved. Just to echo Nikhil's comment, we'll make it a world-class riding area. It's very special to this club due to its proximity to Las Vegas, its varied terrain, and we hope to make it a friendly, safe, and just a variable use area for all parties involved. That's it.
Thank you for your comment, Ken. It's a great comment. We appreciate it so much. Okay, at this time, we are still open for comments. We have no hands raised, but please know that we welcome any and all comments. All of your comments are useful and will be incorporated into the plan. Okay, as we're waiting for comments, I'm going to go off of camera, but please know that if you raise your hand, I will open your microphone and you can provide your comment at that time. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your attendance. We are still open for public comment. We will keep the meeting open up until 8 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Mountain time, if you happen to be in Mountain time. We do encourage all of your questions. If you still have a question, please enter it in the Q&A icon box, and our specialists that are on the line will get that answered. As we continue here, we'd like to remind everyone that you can use the Q&A box for any more questions. You can raise your hand to make a public verbal comment. If you're having any technical issues or need additional assistance, you can ask a technical question in the chat box. We do ask that if you have a question in the chat box that you'd like to ask of the BLM specialist, just go ahead and put that into the Q&A box. I don't think we have anything in the chat box that wasn't in the Q&A, but just in case. So we are going to be all on the line for another 28 minutes. So please feel free to go ahead and raise your hand at any time. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video and go on mute, but we are here to accept public comment up until the hour. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to have Kenny come on and give us some information, and we'll go to the next slide as well. If anyone does continue to want to make a comment, you can raise your hand. Additional ways to submit comments include emailing or visiting the website. You can also mail a hard copy, and we do have the e-planning site. So Kenny, if you want to go over any of those, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we will be set. Thank you.
I'd like to first start off by thanking everyone for joining us tonight and providing your input and comments. We're going to go ahead and that's it for the agenda tonight, but we're going to go ahead and leave the floor open for any comments. We will stay on until 8 p.m. So if you guys still have comments, please feel free to jump on and address those comments. We will be open until 8 p.m. And we appreciate your feedback and your participation.
I do want to remind everyone that we will continue to accept comments and questions up until the end of the meeting, which will be at 8 o'clock. So for 20 more minutes, we will continue to stay on the line and accept those questions and answer any questions that come in via text and accept verbal comments. To provide a verbal comment, you'll just raise your hand using the raise hand feature in the Zoom icon or Zoom toolbar. Once you have your hand raised, I'll go ahead and open your microphone, and that way you can provide your comment. We are going to continue to keep the meeting open in case we have anyone that might have joined late or just joining at this moment. So we want to make sure that we afford everyone of the public the opportunity, if they join late, to still provide their comment and ask a question. So we will continue to leave the meeting up. We do encourage you to visit the website. I placed the website in the chat feature again. We do have another question, so that's really great. If we have anyone from the BLM that would like to answer it live, we can also do that, or we can just type the answer, and that's fine too. So we will continue to answer that question. If anyone else has a question, please feel free to use the Q&A icon to enter your question, and we'll have our specialists answer it. If you do have a public comment, we do have a question in the chat from Mary Kay. Mary Kay asks how she prints or downloads the transcript. So tonight's meeting, you have a transcript that's produced so that you can have closed captioning. That is really only for closed captioning. If you download that, it's going to have a lot of errors and things like that. But you'll notice spelling and stuff is wrong. But what we do after the meeting is we process the recording, and then we take the transcript and we go ahead and clean it up. So we clean up the spelling and things like that. So we will actually post the transcript of the meeting up onto that website. So the www.virtualpublicmeeting.com/Logandale-Trails-EA. So that website that you can see on your screen as well will have a couple different icons or abilities to download. So you'll see a way to select. I think it's on the welcome page that you can select that information. So Mary Kay says thanks. So I'll stop talking about that now. But yeah, we'll have the recording as well as a cleaned up transcript, and that'll be more valuable for you. And that will be, it takes a little bit to process that. So that will probably be available here in a week or so. Okay, well, thank you so much. We are going to answer that question typed because it's kind of a longer question. So we'll get that answer out to you all. Again, I want to remind you that we will post the transcript, and it will also have those questions that were asked along with the answers that were provided, either live, we will incorporate that into a report, or those that were typed, that will have the direct typed answer into that report as well. And that all will be available on the website and on ePlanning. Hello again, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging in with us. We do have 10 more minutes left of the public meeting. We are still open for questions. You can submit your question in the question and answer box on the very bottom of your Zoom screen. You can type your answer in, and you can also submit it anonymously if you'd like. We do have some more time to answer any of those questions, so please go ahead and submit them in that queue, and we will have a specialist assigned to it and get you a written answer back as quickly as possible. We are still open for public comment, so if you would like to make a comment or make an additional comment if you've already gone, we're more than happy to go ahead and go back to the public comment session. Or go back to the public comment screen and continue that. So as we continue the last now 9 minutes of the meeting, please feel free to raise your hand at any time or submit a question. We thank you all for attending this evening. Hello again, everyone. One last hello. We are going to continue to accept public comment up until the hour. So right at 8 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Mountain Time. If you would like to make a public comment, you're welcome to use the raise hand feature, and that will let us know that you're ready to make that public comment. You can also use the question and answer icon to enter a question and have the BLM specialist answer that question. They will type answer back to your typed question. So we're going to continue to leave the line open in case we have any individuals that would like to leave a comment or ask a question. We would like to thank you again for attending this evening. All of your questions, all of your comments, they're just very, very critical to this process and to the BLM. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance. We really appreciate you sticking with us all evening. We hope you have a great evening and we will see you soon. Thanks so much for all your great input. Have a good night.